Now, what's on the fence about being worthy of your time?
Yes.
And I can't believe I'm saying this about a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah. Some
There
of his
we go.
'90s movies were, eh,
In,
but
in case you're listening to this instead of watching, John Carpenter's Starman.
yes. One of the I actually I think this was like the last of his '80s movies that I had not seen yet. Um, and it's definitely not what you would expect from him.
No, what I'll say is that John Carpenter movies, multiple different people have at different points of my life taken time out of their watch schedules or whatever to make sure that I saw things like Escape from New York, The Thing, um, Big Trouble in Little China.
Yes. Yeah.
I have
Um,
never even heard of this movie until we were scrolling through Netflix for a classic movie to watch.
Yeah, I had heard of it, but I didn't, and I knew it was like an alien movie, but I didn't really know like the basic premise of it. Um, but yeah, so the premise of the movie is an alien, the Voyager 2 probe ends up getting uh trapped. It gets ends up at an alien world, um, and then they send a ship to Earth, and uh, the alien ship ends up crash landing in Wisconsin, and there it's this like full floating ball of energy, and it takes the form of Jeff Bridges, who is the deceased husband of Karen Allen's character.
Right? It basically finds a lock of his hair in a photo album and copies the DNA.
Right. And uh, so uh, so then just of course you have the whole thing with Karen Allen, like, oh my god, my dead husband is alive, and but it's not her husband, and so then he basically kidnaps her, and because he needs to go to Arizona to meet up with the other aliens.
Right? Like he got shot down by the military, and yeah, they go on this 3-day road trip so that he can reunite with his people.
Right, and of course, as you might expect from a movie like this, the government's out chasing after them, and we've got our second week in a row watching a movie with Charles Martin Smith, because he plays a guy from SETI, uh, and he's basically the alien expert
What was
in the
Charles Martin Smith last week? Was he in?
American Graffiti.
Oh, okay.
He was Terry, the nerdy guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was unrecognizable for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, this
It
movie I
was
think was like,
1984. Yeah.
yeah, this is, yeah, 11 years after after American Graffiti. Yeah, so he aged quite a bit.
Be
Um,
careful who you make fun of in film high school.
indeed, yeah. um, and so they're tracking him through the country, and of course, Bridges' character being, the Starman being the alien, you've got a lot of fish out of water stuff going on with him, and you've got Karen Allen having a lot of mixed emotions with him,
Right.
being looking like her dead husband, and yeah,
But she knows intellectually that it isn't her dead husband. But
yeah,
she slowly falls in love with him too.
yeah, yeah, and so you get one of the things I kind of noticed about this was the the pacing seemed to be a little weird, or they kind of condensed a lot of stuff. Like when they figure, like when Charles Martin Smith figures out that it's the two of them that they're looking for. Like, well, how did he figure that out? They kind of made that leap a
Mm,
little quickly. I guess maybe because of the description from their
mm.
encounters with other people,
Eh,
and
Well, I think they also had tracked the crash to being near her house,
okay, yeah,
as memory serves. So I'm going to be totally honest here with this review. I
Yeah.
may have been a little bit distracted while watching this movie because in the course of this, I started getting text messages that they were taking a 19-year-old cat family pet to the pet emergency care.
Mm,
So I might have been distracted by being a little bit worried about the cat, but also getting text messages throughout while watching this and trying to get it watched before I had to go.
right. Yeah.
So I
Okay.
wasn't going back to rewatch certain things.
Yeah.
So this is a distracted review, so
Yeah.
apologies in advance if I get any details wrong.
Okay. No, no
Okay.
problem.
Uh,
Um,
what I will say is that there's an odd lack of tension in the movie.
yeah. Yeah, you never get the sense that they're ever really in that much danger.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is that you're talking about certain things that seem to happen. They wasted a lot of time in the opening with like the alien spaceship, the
Yeah.
spaceship being shot down, lovingly showing the spaceship crashing with it. A really impressive fireball, actually. I would love to know how they pulled that off without CGI.
Yeah, well, probably a miniature, I'm guessing. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
though it was well enough done that I almost wondered, did they actually fling a big flaming ball at a real forest?
I don't
Because
know.
it was the 80s, so the environmental protections weren't what they are now.
That's true. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll call it a good sign when I'm wondering, wait, is that a miniature or?
Yeah, yeah.
But they wasted quite a bit of time, and it's interesting how long it takes for actual conversations to happen in the movie.
Yeah.
Like a 15, 20 minutes in before the alien and the girl start talking.
Yeah. Well, and that could part of that could be like um, him having a hard time talking. Just because you
Yep.
watch when you watch the movie, yeah, he has linguistic communication isn't very easy for him.
Right. So, part of it is that he shows up in his like he shows up, he putters around the house in like first person perspective. You never really see what the Starman looks like naturally.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and he finds the lock of hair, and you have this detailed zoom in. And it's like it feels like they were trying to show off a little bit. Like, okay, first we're zooming on the hair, then they just go down all the levels of miniaturization. Nowadays, they probably would have had like an actual double helix, but they basically got down to like the cellular level what they're zooming in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and then he putters around the house as Jeff Bridges. Then she sees him and I think didn't she pass out?
Yeah. Eventually, yeah, she passes out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's what slows it down. It's like you're a decent way of the movie into the movie before he really explains what's going on.
Yeah. Um, and and of course, like you were saying, like they during their road trip, she eventually starts warming up to him, and then uh they get on the train and do the deed, and then of course earlier before
Man,
that
Earth
she
Girls are just easy.
yes they are, yeah. But yeah, before that, she tells him that she can't have children,
Right.
but then he tells her, no, you have a baby now.
Oh, probably should have asked you first. Whoops. Oh well.
Oh yeah.
um, yeah. So going back to the lack of tension. I mean, part of it
Mm,
could be that it's the main guy chasing him is the nerdy guy from American Graffiti.
graffiti, yeah.
Um, and I think a lot of it would have been okay. So just for example, early scene with him, he's at the crash site,
Mhm.
and he's there with the people who are investigating the crash site. There's like the local geology department or something like that, or
Yeah.
some group of scientists. At this point, the audience knows, oh, that was a spaceship.
Yeah.
So as they're drilling into this spaceship that appears to be a big rock, and they
Mhm.
find out that it's hollow, that could have been a cool moment of realization and discovery, except that the audience knows that the
Really?
and that it's an alien spaceship because we watched it get shot down and Jeff Bridges slowly walk out of it and
Yeah,
from the
yeah,
first person alien perspective, putter around a house, take on a human guise, and leave
yeah, yeah.
with his kidnapped human girl.
Right. Yeah,
So the scene is a big waste of time.
yeah.
Now, if the movie had been about an investigator who is trying to find a crashed alien spaceship,
Hmm.
and he discovers that this big rock was hollow inside, and like, oh, this big rock was a spaceship.
Yeah.
Now there's a mystery.
Yeah, yeah, almost kind of like Captain America: The First Avenger. Like at the beginning of the movie, when they see the plane and the ice,
Hmm.
and then they go and then they go inside, and then they see Cap's frozen body in there, and then they flash back to World War II, something
Right,
like that. Yeah,
right. You could have done a setup like that, but because the audience always knows more than the characters, which is always a dangerous thing to do.
yeah,
Because the audience basically knows both sides of it in very great detail. They know that the SETI guy is on the trail. They know the SETI guy is working with the military. They know that the military wants the Starman.
yeah,
They know where the Starman is at basically all times. They know where the military is at basically all times.
hmm,
And the military's extensive force, the extent of the military's force is occasionally recruiting local police,
hmm.
um, having the SETI guy, who again is the nerdy guy from American Graffiti 11 years later,
Yeah,
who does like there's like a military guy who's with him sometimes, who's just an affable guy.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not like we have this grim force that's trying to chase them down.
yeah. Yeah, and even the climactic scene where they go to where they're at the crater, and they got the helicopter shooting at them, and it's
Yeah, like a dozen helicopters shooting at him.
yeah, like, okay, why?
Like, how did you manage to make a scene with a bunch of military helicopters bearing down on our heroes?
Yeah,
Dull.
yeah,
So, and also like, so a lot of what this movie is. Okay, so like if the movie doesn't have a lot of tension, is the character interactions between our two leads there at least good?
hmm, yeah,
I would call it like mid, as the Zoomers like to say.
yeah, yeah. They were okay. Yeah,
Jeff Bridges pretending to be a stunted or an emotionally incomplete alien. I hate to say this, but Alan Tiddick does it better in the Resident Alien TV show on Sci-Fi,
Ooh.
and that isn't like it's a show that has some good qualities, and one of those good qualities is his performance. So it's
Mm.
a little bit unfair to compare that, considering the man. Like looking at the man, he looks like he's Edgar wearing the suit from the first Men in Black movie.
Yeah,
The way he's able to make his muscles contort in that one,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. I definitely miss for Carpenter. And part of me wonders if because this was a studio movie. I mean, it was Columbia that did it.
mhm.
He didn't have very good luck working with doing studio movies. Um, like the Thing, for instance. That you know that that movie bombed badly, and which is unfortunate because it's a really good movie. But the subject matter in it, I think, threw a lot of people off, and he ended up he was actually supposed to direct Firestarter, which was a
Hmm.
Stephen King adaptation, but because the thing bombed, he had that taken away from him. And Carpenter has a really big, very big personality, and he's definitely one of those guys that likes to work with do his own thing. So having a studio, so I wonder how much studio interference there was in this movie. Is basically what I'm wondering. Um,
Well, I happen to have the Wikipedia page here. The original screenplay was written by Bruce A. Evans and Reynold Gideon, with Dean Reisner making uncredited rewrites.
okay, I wonder. I wonder if one of those. Well, I wonder if one of those writers isn't Carpenter using a pseudonym, because he tended to do that. He did that with the music. Because Carpenter usually did the music on all of his movies, and the person doing the music is Jack Nietzsche. So I think he likes to use weird pseudonyms like that. But yeah, from what I can, if I'm willing to guess, I'm say that none of the writers were him. So yeah, this was probably not one of his.
Okay, this is funny. This is
Yeah.
funny. So the movie started off as Night Skies,
Yeah.
um, and apparently, event like the version of the script um, eventually went on to become E.T. Because Columbia abandoned Night Skies with a plot similar to Starman on the ground that it was a more Disney-like story aimed at children, whereas Starman was for a mature audience. Night Skies was eventually retitled E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which became the highest-grossing film of its time. Upon which Reisner commented, "Goes to show you how wrong you can be in this business."
Yeah.
So I guess that Columbia had two similar scripts they were working on at the same time, and they
Yeah.
decided to get rid of the kitty one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, that explains a lot. But
Also, there was a lot of sci-fi that in a short window here because it released the same week as David Lynch's Dune, and 1 week after the release of Peter Hyman's film 2010, The Year We Made Contact.
oh wow, yeah. Yeah, and '84 was also Star Trek 3 came out that year too.
Man, they were eating good that year if you were a sci-fi fan.
Oh yeah, yeah. Almost as good as '82.
And that does explain why I kept thinking of E.T. with this one.
Yeah.
Like the idea of this being like a similar concept, even at the script level, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It does kind of show you that part of the fun of ET is that the character couldn't really have a real conversation with you.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like just to kind of kick the movie a little bit more,
Mm,
it felt weirdly preachy, like the whole "he is 100,000 years ahead of us."
yeah.
Like it. At one point, he just upright declares, that his race is more advanced, but there's like something special and alive about you humans.
Yeah.
It's like I didn't really necessarily feel that the movie had earned that.
Yeah.
I mean, besides him getting to make the beast with two backs with her at that point, but
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Like tonally, it didn't feel like a Carpenter movie, because Carpenter is a very cynical guy.
mhm.
And this movie didn't. It had a little bit of cynicism in it, but not to the degree you normally see with one of his movies.
It's been a while since I've seen what I've seen of ET, but like I feel like even that one had scarier villains than this, which is weird.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, I guess it just shows the importance of uh, how to put it. It shows the importance that having real tension can have in your script.
yes, yeah,
Because if the main characters can kind of just, man, I think that they existed for 2 of the 3 days of their trip without realizing they were being chased necessarily.
I think no, I think you're right. Yeah,
Which that's a problem if the villains are having so little impact on the hero's storyline that they're totally unaware of them.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, it's a John Carpenter '80s movie that I see why, unlike his other products, nobody has ever gone, "Oh, you've never seen The Thing before? Oh, you're watching The Thing."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. You've never seen Escape from New York? We're watching Escape from New York. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I didn't even know this movie existed until last week.
yeah, yeah. Well, everybody has misfires every now,
Yep,
in
we
their
all
career.
have. Uh, uh, Yep, everybody has their downtimes. Not everybody. You don't hit every you don't hit every ball thrown at you.
That's yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we have said all we need to say for tonight.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.